All right, let's talk about the perfect pitch deck design. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. Just last week, I did a video for you and I talked to you about the 3 types of documents that you'll need when you go to meet with an investor. And they were an executive summary, a pitch deck, and financial projections. And today we're going to talk about that pitch deck, and I'm going to run you through a typical pitch deck structure and share with you roughly what should be on those slides. And then I'm actually going to end by telling you what I think the perfect pitch deck design is. Now, these slides, the order of these slides actually comes from Guy Kawasaki. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He was an early employee at Apple, did a brilliant job, and he produced some work a while back that sort of shared as an investor the pitch deck design that he looks for. And it's typically the template that I use when I'm building pitch decks for clients that I work with. So I'm going to run you through the 10 slides that Guy recommends. I highly suggest you go look at where he shares this, because he also talks about how you should have very little text on your slides. It should be a lot of imagery. The font of the text should be big. He runs through this whole process with pitch decks, and it's a really good learning point. So the first slide he always looks at is the title. Pretty simple. The name of the company, your tagline, and the people that are presenting would be on that slide. The second slide is going to be the problem, or as I call it, the pain point. What's the pain point that exists out in the marketplace that you want to solve, right? So however that falls, what is that big pain point? What's the problem that people are experiencing? And most importantly, when you're sharing what the pain point is, always keep this in mind. This better be a pain point that people are willing to pay for a solution, right? Because if it's just a pain point, but it's not a big enough pain point that people will spend money, then investors really are going to have a hard time getting their return, right? So have on there your pain point, but remember, what is that? How's that pain point impacting the end user? Will they pay for a solution? So that's your second slide. The third slide is going to be your USP, your unique selling point. Now, on the fourth slide, you're going to go into more detail on your solution, but in this slide, the third slide, you're just being really specific about how your solution is different and what value you bring to the marketplace with that solution. Then we go into the fourth slide and go into more detail. And this is a perfect example on the fourth slide to come in and maybe show a picture of your solution. So if you have a prototype, show a picture of it. If you have an app that's going to go out on Apple's App Store, maybe have some screenshots, those types of things. The fourth slide, your solution, this is a great place to include that type of stuff. It just pulls the investor deeper into what your solution is going to look like, kind of makes it come alive a bit more. Then on the fifth slide, you're going to go into your business model. So if you're a software solution that you sell subscriptions to your software solution, so you're a SaaS solution, then you're going to mention that business model. If your model is services, you're going to mention that you are a service-based model, these types of things. So that's your fifth slide. It's going to be the business model. The sixth slide is one that I feel is very, very important. And this is your go-to-market, or really your marketing plan. How do you plan to educate the market on what you're doing and get the word out about your solution to this pain point? So I just got done working with the client on their pitch deck, and their go-to-market, they plan to really attack the market through strategic partnerships. So we talked about that. We mentioned who those strategic partnerships could be. We listed their names. We listed some that they had already signed deals with, right? Key point, investors see that you're already getting this go-to-market going. That's intriguing to them. So how do you plan to get out in the market and increase awareness of what you're doing? One of the things I want to caution you on for go-to-market, I see this all the time with startups. They lean heavily on the idea of social media because it's inexpensive and they think they're going to go viral. I don't see the viral piece as much, but in the early days, years ago when I worked with startups, every startup was going to be on social media. They were going to produce some video or something that was viral, and off they go to the races at 10 cents a customer acquisition cost because social media is inexpensive. Please don't fall for that. Don't just say, I'm just going to be on social media and I'm not going to do anything else. Really think through how you're going to go to market and share that approach. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're on the 7th slide. This is a competitor analysis. And what I want you to do here is I highly recommend using a matrix. Just using a table. On the first column, list all the competitors and your own company. Across the top, first row, list all the features and functionality that people tend to offer. And then you just go through and you put a check if that competitor offers that feature or functionality, or you put an X if they don't, and you do the same for yourself. And hopefully when you're done, at a quick glance, an investor can understand how you're different than your competitors. If you're the only solution that has every feature and functionality, they're not going to believe you. So be sure you include that some competitors might be doing some really good things, and you may be doing them also, or you may not do that. I just got done doing a pitch deck for a client, and on their competitor matrix, there were a few pieces of feature and functionality that this client was not going to offer. But in his voiceover, he was able to share why he wasn't doing that, right? So a matrix is a great way to quickly tell the story of the competition. Next slide, number 8, is the management team. So I've talked about how investors love a team who has experience. They invest in a team, not an idea. Team has to execute on the idea. This slide, it's really important to drive home the team and how your team is uniquely positioned to run this business. So what I mean is, don't just list all your degrees. Share your experiences, right? It's wonderful if you have an engineering degree and that's what has allowed you or a computer science degree, and that's what has allowed you to create this application. But also share your experiences and accomplishments. It's a lot like a resume, a short one, where you're sharing what you've accomplished, not just your title or your education. So keep that in mind. If you're a solopreneur in this instance, it's really time to start thinking about bringing on some other people to improve that team slide. Slide number 9 is your projections. That's one of those pieces, those 3 pieces to meet with investors. You're going to take the summary off those projections and put them on slide number 9 at a high level: sales, cost of goods sold, gross revenue, operating expenses, and net revenue. You can even do it as a graph to show how it climbs. Sometimes we call it a hockey stick if it's scaling appropriately. But I do also suggest on slide 9, including some milestones. Design the slide where you show how you plan to grow revenue and how that revenue will help you accomplish some things, right? So maybe you'll hire some people in Q3 when your revenue hits this point, that kind of thing. And then finally is your ask. So anytime you're in sales, you got to ask for the sale. Well, when you're meeting with an investor, you're asking for an investment most likely, right? So you have to ask for that investment. And that's your last slide. The ask is how much you're looking for. Sometimes I suggest listing in exchange. You've heard them do this on Shark Tank. I'm asking for $1 million for 10% of my company. Something along those lines. If you're not sure what you're willing to give in exchange for that money, just say, we're raising $1 million. And then I also recommend listing what's called your use of funds or your use of proceeds. Show where that money's going to go so that the investor knows that they're not just writing you a blank check and off you go to spend it how you want. You're going to spend $150,000 on marketing, $200,000 on payroll, and $500,000 in research and development of your prototype, those types of things. So that's slide number 10. And those 10 slides are the slides that Guy Kawasaki recommended years and years ago, and is still a great template. But I sometimes will change that template up, because the best pitch deck design is really not necessarily exactly in that order always. The best design is the one that helps you tell the story of your startup. Your pitch deck should tell a story. People like storytelling. Design your pitch deck well so that it tells the story of your startup, the story of your customer, and how your solution is the best one to come to market, how it desperately needs to come to market, and the amount of money that you need in order to do that. I have taken these slides and with clients in the past, and we've mixed up the order. For instance, with one of the clients recently, their team was so strong and so critical to that startup that we moved it up early in the pitch deck because we knew it would build interest and momentum as the pitch deck went along and build interest of those investors. So that by the time we got to the ask, we'd proven our point early on, and they were already by slide 7 or 8 bought into the idea. Or maybe your go-to-market is so brilliant because you have the perfect influencer that's your best friend, and then this huge influencer that'll work for you for free. If that's critical to what you're doing, move it up early in your pitch deck. Just make sure the flow works. So the best pitch deck design is not always in that order. It is succinct, to the point, little text, and it tells the story of your startup. I hope that helps. Take care. Hey, one more quick thing before I let you go today. If the information in today's video was helpful to you, then you may want to head to the webpage listed below to check out some of the resources that I've created for people just like you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.